This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. This lesson, we're still in imagining. We're still focused on the squid, and now we're on letter number 3 in the squid, the V, which, as we remember, stands for vision. And the question that we're asking ourselves when we think about vision is, are we interested in showing where we're going, the vision, or are we interested in showing the execution, how we're going to get there? So, for some examples, let's say that we're interested in sports. Let's say that we're a big fan of American football. What is the vision of what a football team is trying to do? They're trying to get the ball either through that or past that. That's what they're really trying to do. That is the vision of American football. Now, what's interesting is if we think about the execution, how do we actually do it? We start with a picture that looks almost the same. We just tip it on its side. We start with a picture that looks like this. Well, what do I mean? Well, if we think about bracketing, that's the way we measure which teams are going to come in. Bracketing is the term used to describe what steps do you have to go through as a team to get to the Super Bowl. So, for example, the picture that we draw of how the execution looks like this. And how did it work for my team? Well, we had the San Francisco Niners doing okay, almost made it in, and then failed in the last playoff game, so didn't get to go to the Super Bowl. But nevertheless, that's how you do it, and that's where you're going. Let's try another example. Let's say that we're really interested in, let's go climb Mount Fuji. Let's go climb beautiful Mount Fuji. Okay, talk about a vision. That is our vision, and it's a beautiful one. Now, talk about execution. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to take step number 1, then step number 2. Then we're going to take step number 3, then we're going to take step number 4, then we're going to take step number 5, and number 6, and number 7, and number 8, and we're going to continue to take those steps until we get to the top. Vision, execution. Last quick example, my favorite vision statement of all time. Back in 1961, President Kennedy said, "Greatest vision statement ever. You know what we're going to do as a nation? We are going there. We're going to the moon." That's what we're going to do. We are going to put a man on the moon, and we're going to bring him back, and we're going to do it in the next 9 years. Greatest vision statement ever said. Well, that's all great unless you happen to work for NASA, of course, in which case the picture that you want to draw isn't about the vision. The picture that you need to draw is about execution. How are we going to do it? And the picture that we then draw, if we're working for NASA, doesn't look quite the same. It's got a lot of steps. It says one of the things we need to do is build a rocket. And then we need to make sure that we're going to launch that rocket at the appropriate time when the Earth and the Moon are in the proper alignment. And then we're going to send that rocket out here, and step by step, all of these things are going to happen that eventually are going to get us on the moon and then get us to come back. Vision, execution. Which is the picture that you need to draw to make your point? So that's really what we want to talk about now. When is it that we want to draw a vision picture versus a how-to execution picture? Well, I think there are a couple of ways to think about this. When we want to inspire someone, I mean, think about those images we just drew, winning the football game, getting to the moon, reaching Mount Fuji. When we want to inspire someone, of course, the picture we want to draw is the one that's about our vision. Where are we going? You know, but what that picture also shows is it gives us a good vision of what success looks like. If we do this and we're successful, what is that going to mean? What will we have achieved? What will that look like? And the last one is, okay, we understand what the vision is. We understand what success looks like. And now what we want to do is we want to get all on, literally, on the same page. We want to get on the same page. Now, what do we mean about that, on the same page? Well, let's say that's the vision, and someone else is over here, and they heard the same thing, and they said, you know, something else, and someone else was over here, and they heard something else. I don't know what they might have heard. They heard something entirely different, and someone else was over here, and they heard star, and they thought about, I don't know, this beautiful movie star. What having a good vision picture does is it gets us all on the same page, and we're all looking at the same image, and we're all saying, aha, okay, We all get it. We all know what we're supposed to do. And that is when we want to draw the vision picture. But that tells us, okay, so when do we want to draw the how we're going to do it picture? The execution picture. Well, that's when we've already got everybody on the same page about the vision, and now we need to say, well, what is my individual role? What am I going to do exactly to make sure we get to there? What's my role? And by the way, hey, what's your role? And what's his role over there? What role is he going to play in all this? That's when we need to see the execution picture. And, also in that line is we need to know, okay, so I know what my role is. What do I need to do first? What's the first thing? I can see a bunch of steps, and I want to know, which one is the first one that I need to do. And then, of course, the reason we need an execution picture is we need to be able to have something so that we can check back on our progress. As we're making our way towards that star, can we check back and see, are we where we hoped to be at this time? So that's when we want to use a vision picture versus an execution picture. Last example I want to give about vision versus execution is I want to talk about something very simple. I want to talk about a nice cup of coffee. Something that probably many of us really enjoy, a nice cup of coffee. And I want to talk real quickly in setting this up about where do we figure out what's the vision for our cup of coffee. And real quickly, I want to understand, we all know this. If we think about coffee retailers, who is the biggest coffee retailer on earth? Well, of course, it's Starbucks coffee. You want to know how many stores Starbucks coffee has? Worldwide, we draw it in the chart, Starbucks has about 15,000 stores worldwide. Want to take a guess who might be the second biggest coffee retailer? Well, it's a company called Peet's Coffee. Peet's is number 2. You want to know how many stores Peet's has worldwide? Peet's has about 160 stores worldwide. Can you think of any other industry where the difference between the number 1 player and the number 2 player is, 2 orders of magnitude different? The fact is, Peet's Coffee, although Peet's was actually the original creator of gourmet coffee, and in fact Starbucks came originally from Peet's. Long and interesting story there if you want to look it up. So the point is, there is an opportunity for this company to grow. But remember our vision? So the issue with Peet's becomes, how can we grow our company while still holding on to our vision? And I had an opportunity to work with the people over at Peet's as we created this. And the CEO, a guy named Pat O'Day, asked me to help him work on a napkin sketch that said, let's draw out the vision again. Here's Peet's vision. What do we want to do? It's the same picture we drew a minute ago. We want to be absolutely the world's best, most luscious, fantastic quality of coffee. That's what we want to be, and nothing is ever going to change that. But let's face it, we do also know that we want to grow as a business. So why don't we draw out our vision and our execution on what else? Why don't we draw it out on the back of a napkin? And that's exactly what we did. The vision remains the same. The gold standard in the quality of coffee. And nothing is ever going to change that. But how are we going to make that happen? How do we execute? Well, let's set up our business in a new way and let's show it. From an execution perspective, what we're going to do is divide our business up into 4 different groups. The serve group, the people that are actually responsible for working in the stores, and the baristas and the people that are making those cappuccinos and are interacting with the customers. They know where they sit within this quality chain. And then there's another group called the develop group, which is really HR and training, that's going to teach these people to make sure that they know where they sit within that chain up to the vision. And then we have the managers. These are the people that are actually responsible for running the stores on a day-to-day basis. These are the people that are keeping track of the money. Where do they sit within this chain of quality? And then, of course, we have the Inspire group, and these are the people, the head brewer, the CEO, the head who are really trying to make sure that people throughout the company are inspired. And then underneath that, you can have a set of measurements so that each group knows exactly what they need to do in order to be successful. We need to go into even greater detail, so we were able to take our napkin and expand it and say, if I was in the serve group, what does that actually mean? Well, it means I'm going to be measured by 4 different things. How clean and well organized I am, what is the quality of the coffee product that I'm serving, how fast is my service, and how effectively am I engaged with customers. So now we've taken execution, how, from a high level, drilling right down into many of the details of exactly how it needs to happen. And then how do we train you? How do we go about executing that? Well, we're going to take our simple vision again, and we're going to apply it across all of our various materials, from our operational tools to our learning tools to our management tools to our measurement tools. That's how we move from that simple back of the napkin picture, the vision picture, all the way down into the how we're going to do it execution picture. And now it's your turn. So again, we're on the squid, 2 pictures as usual. Vision. What is the vision of the thing? What is the end state that I want to achieve? Versus execution. How am I going to do it? So if you had chosen your orange, what's the perfect state of an orange? And how am I going to achieve that? If you draw on a computer, what might be in the future the perfect form of a computer? And how do we need to move from now to then? Or if you'd picked a car, what is the perfect form of a car? Well, I don't know. I think that this Mustang Fastback's getting pretty close to the perfect form of a car right there. But what is the vision? And okay, how are we going to make it? So again, whichever drawing you've picked, go ahead and make 2 pictures. Draw out what you think is the vision for your object and draw out how you're going to make that vision happen. Go ahead.